Presidents are puppets, while the true rulers rule from behind the scenes. The real rulers are those who control our monetary system and the mainstream media. A tiny handful of people, made up mostly of Freemasons, run and control the vast majority of the world's banks and media. As damning and easily provable as is this fact of Freemason control, there is one other incredible fact, which has also been held from humanity for 500 years now. This fact is even more damning and more easily provable, and is also a direct result of the Freemason control over the minds of the masses worldwide. It is the most ridiculed, censored, and hidden fact in history. If this fact was made known to the world at large, just this one fact has the power to completely transform the world and everyone in it for the better, holistically, in a myriad of ways. Our rulers are well aware of this, and that is exactly why this truth has been held from us so expertly for so long. It is about the truth of who we are, where we come from, the actual position and significance of humans, Earth, the sun, moon, and stars. The fact is, the Earth is flat and motionless.
And that is the revelation that will finally break the Matrix. Flat Earth has long been touted as the mother of all conspiracy theories, suppressed and ridiculed for centuries as being an ignorant, unscientific worldview. But the facts of the matter are far from what you've been told. It is a fact, not a theory, that bodies of water always seek and find their own level. From a pond, lake, or an ocean, the natural physics of water is to find and remain level. It is a fact that the majority of Earth is covered in such level water, thus making it an unscientific theory to postulate that Earth is actually a gigantic sphere with bendy oceans curving all the way around it. It is an unproven, unscientific theory with no observable, measurable, or repeatable evidence to claim that bodies of water can somehow bend, cling to the exterior of shapes, and show convexity upon their surface. It is a fact, not a theory, that we are able to observe objects at incredibly long distances, far beyond what would be possible if Earth were a globe 25,000 miles in circumference, as we're told. For example, it is a fact that in Genoa, Italy, from just above sea level, it is possible to see the distant islands of Elba, Caprea, and Corsica 80 to 125 miles away. It is a necessary theory that the globe Earth must curve 8 inches per mile squared if it really be a ball 25,000 miles in circumference, as we're told. But based on such a theory, these islands would all be completely hidden behind thousands of feet of curved Earth. It is a fact, not a theory, that the horizon always appears perfectly flat, 360 degrees around the observer, regardless of altitude. All amateur balloon, rocket, plane, and drone footage show a completely flat horizon as high as we can reach, over 20 miles or 120,000 feet up. It is an observable, testable, repeatable, scientific fact of reality that Polaris, the North Pole star, situated perfectly over the North Pole center of Earth, never moves a single inch. Night after night, year after year, century after century, with all the other fixed stars remaining fixed in their relative constellations, revolving perfect circles around Polaris. It is also an unobservable, unscientific theory to claim that the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles per hour and the Milky Way shoots millions of miles per hour more off through infinite space, when we cannot see, hear, feel, or otherwise observe or prove any such motion. And we can see clearly for ourselves Polaris never moving, and all the other stars revolving around it. This is just a brief introduction to the many observable, testable, repeatable scientific facts of our level, motionless plain Earth that have been suppressed and ridiculed for centuries in favor of various unobservable, untestable, unscientific theories purporting we live on a tilting, wobbling, spinning, ball-shaped Earth.
Just our common sense, everyday perception of the Earth, it is flat as far as we can tell. It is motionless as far as we can tell. And everything in the sky is revolving around us as far as we can tell. If nobody told us otherwise, we'd logically assume that the Earth was flat, motionless, with everything in the sky revolving around us. And you can prove that this is the case as well, for instance, with the horizon. As you rise up, no matter how high you go on the top of Mount Everest, or if you go in a balloon higher and higher, we've gotten independent balloons have gone up with cameras, the horizon remains flat all the way around and rises to the eye of the camera all the way up, totally flat, and rises to the eye of the observer. So that's one proof. Now, if the Earth were a ball, no matter how big, the horizon is said to be the curvature of the ball.
If you were to go to NASA, it's all fraud, it's all fake. Pretty much everything NASA puts out is fraudulent. There are no images of Earth from space. Put an end to this topic once and for all, turn the Hubble round and show us Earth in real time, but they will not do it. They can't do it. It doesn't exist. It literally doesn't exist. Looking at these images of Earth, including the one they call the Big Blue Marble, which was released in 2002, I think. Zoom into it with Photoshop, you'll see where they've used the clone tool in Photoshop to take a picture of one of the clouds and stamp it in various places around the picture. They got lazy.
If the Earth is 25,000 miles in circumference, there must exist a curvature drop of 8 inches times the mile when you square the mile. 1 mile means there should be an 8-inch curvature drop. 2 miles, 2 times 2 times 8 is 32. That's 32-inch drop. 3 miles would be a 72-inch drop. And this would exponentially continue. Here's the longest bridge in the world. The Danyang Kongchong Grand Bridge in China. 102.4 miles long. There should exist nearly 7,000 feet of curvature drop in that bridge. 7,000 foot curvature drop. Do you see it? It ain't there. Look at the horizon. It's flat.
You can see in that dive shot that the inside camera, the horizon is completely flat. Then it goes to the outside and you got a huge curve. But when you're looking at some of the amateur balloon footage, some of it's lens corrected and it's completely flat. And others, like the GoPro stuff, the horizon will fluctuate as the camera spins and tilts. The horizon will go convex and concave. A lens effect. It's obviously not the horizon shifting every 2 seconds as the camera jumps. And when it's still, you can see all the way up, totally flat. NASA is essentially Hollywood, and all the images that you think you've seen of a spinning ball Earth are faked. And all the amateur balloon and rocket footage that we've sent up there shows a flat horizon that rises all the way up. And that's impossible on a ball.
Humans, for the most part, don't have a clue. They don't want one or need one either. They're happy. They think they have a good bead on things.
But why the big secret? People are smart. They can handle it.
The person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it. 1,500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was flat. Imagine what you'll know tomorrow.
The horizon, for instance, is always completely flat, and you don't feel any motion. So if you were just born today and looked out, you wouldn't assume that you're standing on a spinning ball. You'd assume that you were on a flat, motionless plane. So to assume that we are on a spinning ball is actually contrary to our common sense and our everyday experience. And there's also experiments that have been done to test whether we're on a spinning ball or not.
My question was, why, if it's a flat Earth, why couldn't you stand on the coast of California with a telescope and see Japan or Hawaii or something? And I think you know the answer to that. I'll let you answer that.
Yeah. You can't see an unlimited distance. The lowest layer is the densest and not transparent. So if you imagine like a hot, humid day, the haze over a road, all telescopes will eventually blur out in that same kind of way due to the air. So no, you can't see an infinite distance.
Is the Earth flat or round? It's round. Okay, now let's see. How do we go about proving that? Go to the seashore. Go to a seashore. Watch as ships sail away. They don't disappear all at once. No, first, the bottom will disappear. See, the bottom of the ship is gone. Now we can see midway up, and then the whole thing disappears. Now, ships came back. They didn't fall off the table. So people realized that the world is curved. I mean, it's a big curve, but it's curved. So, the process of testing claims, the world is flat, the world is round, is what we call science. Now, if you have a claim that can't be tested, that's what we call pseudoscience. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof.
Boats don't disappear over the curvature of the horizon. Boats disappear due to perspective. All you have to do is go to the beach, watch a boat disappear from your eye, and then whip out your telescope, your binoculars, or your high-powered zoom on your camera, and you can pull the entire boat right back into view. Whole mass and all. Yeah, that's right. You think the boat disappeared? Just whip out your telescope, your binoculars, or your zoom camera. You bring the entire boat back into view, completely debunking everything Coy just told you. And here's my video proof.
Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof.
Imagine that. You can debunk the curvature of the Earth yourself with just a simple zoom on your camera. Bye-bye, little boat.
The flat Earth? Well, that didn't stand up to tests. The round Earth did. And you guys, come on. Everybody watches newscasts. You all use mobile phones. You all see airplanes fly around. You all go to see Ed Sheeran in concert one day in London, another day in Melbourne, Australia. This all depends on our fundamental understanding of the size of the Earth and its shape with extraordinary precision.
What the fuck did you just say?
The way we teach science is you're just some empty vessel and we pour the science into you and then you regurgitate it on an exam. Right. Because Earth, we know it spins once day, yes.
Off to a great start.
So you spin, when you spin pizza dough, it kind of flattens out. Yeah. It gets wider in the middle. And so Earth, throughout its life, even when it formed, it was spinning. And it got a little wider at the equator than it does at the pole. Not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator.
A little chubbier.
Little chubbier.
Yeah.
Chubby's a good way. It's like pear-shaped.
Yeah.
So, it turns out the pear-shapedness is bigger than the height of Mount Everest above sea level. Well, let me just so you understand. We've been fed a lie our entire, I want to call it a lie. We've been fed.
It's a point of view thing, I think.
Earth has been misrepresented to us by
science.
Pear-shaped.
Science.
So they're all trying to figure out, is the universe spinning around us or are we spinning around the universe? They tell you, we don't know shit. We're looking at a bunch of lights in the goddamn sky. You're gonna tell me that light and that light that's 250, 100 trillion light years away? How the fuck did you figure that out?
Well, don't they have an explanation for that shit?
No, exactly. That's what you just said right now. What you just said now is what everyone's natural reaction. Because anytime someone says anything about space, you automatically think, someone figured it out. You don't know the guy's name. You don't know the name of the experiment. You didn't look into it yourself. You just think when someone tells you, how far is the Earth from the sun? They'll say, 93 million miles away. Like you just, everybody relies on someone figured that out and someone double checked it. You're going on what you read. And right now, cosmology, they don't know what the fuck to do. You know what they found out? The cosmic microwave background shows that all the galaxies are on shelves lined up to us. That we're at the fucking center. They don't know what to think about. There's a lot of controversy going on about it.
You should see the stars do all sorts of strange motions, but you don't. You only see them make these perfect circles. That tells me that it's the stars that are moving, not the Earth.
The Copernicus principle, the one that we live by, is that we're insignificant, we mean nothing, we're a speck in the universe. That's the heliocentric model, that we go around the sun. The geocentric model means that everything goes around us. That's what this is in the Bible. That's what the first astronomers were saying. Ptolemy was the first one to say, yeah, we are the center. You can tell based on these observations, everything's revolving around us.
Earth is the center of the universe, and we stand still, and the universe spins around us.
You know what? They've lied so much. NASA's lied so goddamn much that I don't believe shit they say.
They've got that satellite image of that frozen moon. What's that frozen moon?
Oh, let me see if that's CGI. Find that They got a picture of a frozen fucking moon? I guarantee you it's CGI. No way they could take a picture.
Heliocentric models in trouble. Watch as the sunlight shrinks and follows the sun. It's definitely a locally illuminating sun, not far away, not very big, and definitely not 93 million miles away.
There's a place in Bolivia called Salar de Uyuni, which is a salt flat. It's literally 100 miles wide one way and 80 miles across. And it's perfectly flat. And when it rains, literally you get an inch of water and it looks like a perfect mirror. Now, how does that happen on a sphere? Yeah, it shows you that, if you're one end of this salt flat, you can see perfectly clearly the other end 100 miles away. So it's just showing you that, the Earth is flat, and without the effect of the waves in the sea, you'll be able to see a whole lot further. Took a picture across the Great Lakes from Michigan and was able to see, I believe, Chicago, which he shouldn't have been able to see. And the television station basically said it was a mirage.
I found this photo Grandmere State Park. This is from Joshua Nowicki. And what you're seeing here is a mirage. We typically would not be able to see this from the Lake Michigan shore. We talked about this last night. Conditions are right on the lake that we're actually seeing a mirage of the Chicago skyline. Very interesting. Here's what's happening. This is a good example of a superior mirage. So Joshua was on the Lake Michigan shore. He was looking towards the west, and Chicago's beyond the horizon. Should not be able to see it. However, with the right conditions, we have an inversion. We have cold air near the cold lake water and some relatively warmer air above it. This will bend the image of that skyline back towards the viewer. And so typically we would not be able to see this. This image would be viewable from much, much higher in the sky.
They always say it's a mirage, but for a mirage to happen, you have to have very specific atmospheric conditions. You know, it's not a mirage. It's simply that you're looking across a plane.
Now, how come in all these ball pictures, man, you can see all the continents pretty much, and there's just a little bit of clouds here and there. Man, it's like some of these pictures, like there's some where they show the Earth at night and you can see all the lights and stuff. It's like, you're telling me the entire continent didn't have clouds? The entire fucking continent, like you can see Africa and all these lights and all this stuff. Like, you know, if you turn on your porch light, I guess you can see it from space, apparently. And it's like there's no clouds in some of these pictures.
And they spelled out the word sex, right, recently, probably a few months ago in one of the clouds.
But, you know, if they do their research, they say, well, those are composites. And I said, well, how come they copy and paste the clouds on some of these? And they use the same cloud form. Like, if you're going to make a composite, but you shouldn't be copying and pasting clouds. That means you're adding stuff that's not real.
Yeah, and the thing is, those pictures that you're talking about, the blue marble pictures, you know, I think there's about maybe 8 to 10 of them over time that NASA has put out, and you're absolutely right. None of those pictures look the same. The color of the water is different. Like you said, the continents are different sizes. It's just unbelievable. And I think what happened originally was they would put these things out and nobody was paying any attention to it. You know, and then all of a sudden now people are paying attention to it, and now they're pulling these pictures in, and it's an obvious fraud.
What?
And the thing is, there's supposedly tens of thousands of satellites orbiting Earth. We can't get any close-ups of Earth. We can't get a view of Australia with the buildings upside down.
And they'll look at you like you're crazy. But really, you're the sane one for asking real questions. They're the fucking idiots for just repeating school book bullshit. That's how it works. I was taught school book bullshit in public school, and somehow I was able to break free and free my mind. You know how I did it? I watched NASA rockets explode a bunch of times. Fly off sideways and not go to space.
If you watch the trajectory of the space shuttle, it doesn't go straight up. It always goes in a curve and out to sea. The point is, they actually go horizontal. The space shuttle goes horizontal. It never goes any further up. It goes horizontal, very, very low down in the atmosphere. You know, it's still in the atmosphere while it's horizontal, so it never gets any higher. And it goes out of sight, not because it goes too high, because it goes too far downrange. And they have a plane that's mocked up to look like a space shuttle. It's a jet-powered aircraft. That's it. It's not a glider. It's an aircraft. And that's what they're fooling us, taking billions of dollars in and giving us images and fake planes for that 10 billion, however many billions of dollars it is. What goes up must come down, and literally we have not ever seen anything that has ever gone up and not come down.
One thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
Rockets don't have brakes. It literally stopped. All of that angular momentum from the rotation of the rocket and the linear momentum from flying up just stopped. No, it had to have hit something. But what did it hit? If it hit a solid surface, the rocket would have been destroyed, and most likely the camera too, so we wouldn't have the footage, and obviously that's not the case.
Kicks and deals. It's a long fly ball going back, and the ball shatters the sky, bringing the ocean itself down into the stadium. Oh, Simpson just broke this dream's reality wide open.
I know we have still not shattered that highest and hardest glass ceiling, but someday someone will, and hopefully sooner than we might think right now.
There's no place to go.
Although we weren't able to shatter that highest, hardest glass ceiling this time, thanks to you, it's got about 18 million cracks in it. And it may be hard to see tonight, but we are all standing under a glass ceiling right now.
People figured out that we were an enclosed system. The more advanced we got, it would be the biggest thought on our minds. That's all we care about. You could make a wildlife preserve 1,000 miles square. All people, all human beings would do is just be knocking on the fence constantly, going, why is this fence here? Who built the fence? Why are we in here? And so on and so on.
Why do you think that Truman has never come close to discovering the true nature of his world until now?
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented.
Earth, yep,
Earth. If you start here, and you go around long enough in the same direction, you wind up in the place you started from. Yes, Thomas?
Why don't we fall off when we walk underneath, Miss Sarah?
Because of a force called gravity.
What does gravity look like?
Gravity is something we can't see, but we know it's a great invisible force that keeps us all here on Earth. It's a natural force that keeps us all from flying off into space.
We were always told that the world is flat.
You are told right. Don't listen to her. I've been patient with you, Sarah. Lord knows I've been patient, but now your words have revealed you.
The law law of gravity was discovered by Sir Isaac Newton in 1687. That's almost 200 years ago, Uncle Evan.
But there is only one law. The law of God.
What is gravity?
You have no idea. Okay, next question.
Wow.
No, here's the difference. We can describe gravity. We can say what it does to other things. We can measure it, predict with it. But when you start asking, like, what it is, I don't know. Einstein, in an Einsteinian answer, we would say gravity is the curvature of space and time. And objects will follow the curvature of space-time, and we interpret that as a force of gravity. That's probably the best answer I can give to a what is gravity question, or why is there gravity. That's the best I can do there. I think that's a good start.
The world is round.
What?
You know how everybody believes the world is flat, like a pancake? Well, they're all wrong. The world is actually round, like an orange.
The world is an orange. And?
And? Well, that's it. It's a great idea. It's one of my best ones.
Yeah, but what kind of orange? Is it a navel or a juicer? What?
Look, just sleep on it. In the morning, the idea will come to you again, and you won't even remember where you got it. Get it?
Got it.
Good. I must say, I really thought you'd catch on to this a little quicker, Copernicus.
What? My name's not Copernicus. I'm Charlene Sinclair.
You're not Copernicus? This isn't 16th century Poland? Oh boy, I screwed up.
How do you brainwash? You repeat the same thing over and over again. You know, if somebody's resisting the concept, if you keep fucking repeating it, they'll incorporate it in their brain. Since you were a kid, you've seen this image. But you've never seen it from that point of view. But your brain has three-dimensionalized. Oh yeah, that's the Earth. How? Through repetition.
Let's just all get on our hands and knees and wait for a scientist or an astronaut to come along, or Neil deGrasse Tyson to come along and bestow upon us their knowledge.
Now, as you can see, this is the evolution meter, and I've put God, the creator of everything, on the right side, and evolution on the left. I won't change my mind, because I don't have to, because I'm an American. I'm dug in, and I'll never change.
Mac, look, you're wasting our time. You're not going to get us to not believe in evolution.
And why is that?
Because the smartest scientists in the entire world all agree that it's real.
I'm glad you brought that up. Mr. Reynolds, these were all the smartest scientists. Only problem is, they kept being wrong!
Oh, this is insane, you fool!
I'm a fool because I have more faith in the saints that wrote the Bible?
Yeah, because you just read the words of a bunch of guys that you never met, and you just take it on faith that everything they wrote was true.
And what makes you think what your scientists are writing is any more truer than my saints?
Because there are volumes of proven data, numbers, figures.
Have you poured through the data yourself? The numbers, the figures?
Well, no. No.
Oh, interesting. So let me get this straight, Mr. Reynolds. You get your information from a book written by men you've never met, and you take their words as truth based on a willingness to believe, a desire to accept, a leap of, dare I say it, faith?
Come on. Look, I mean, I don't even know how I'm supposed to respond to that. Like, come on.
I rest my case.
Matter tells space how to curve. Space tell... Did I get that right?
The science community is ignoring a lot of the things that we're looking at, and so normal people are going out and doing experiments. And one of the experiments has turned up an amazing fact that we've not been told, and it destroys the whole idea of this heliocentric system, and that is the moon. Now, you can actually measure the temperature of the moonlight next to the temperature of the shade of the moonlight, and you'll find the moonlight is colder than the shade, the opposite from the sun. So the moon is throwing out its own light, and that light is the opposite from the sun. Now, that tells you that it's not reflecting the sun's light. It's producing its own, and its light is different from the sun's. So, you know, the scientific community have not told us this, because they won't tell us this, because it destroys this idea that the sun is, you know, is lighting up the moon.
Everyone knows, like, if you're in sunlight, it's colder in the shade, right? So if it's 100 degrees in the sun, it's 90 degrees in the shade. You go to the moonlight, like especially in a full moon, especially if it's high in the sky, the moon is its own independent object. It is not reflecting the sun rays. The sun is its own object. Also, you know, about the same size, which is, you know, again, coincidentally, you know, why the moon fits so perfectly in front of the sun during an eclipse. We always thought it was a coincidence that even though it was 400 times farther away, that it was also exactly 400 times less diameter, which is why it fits. And the other weird thing about the moon, which everyone thinks, oh, it's just a coincidence, is that we never see the other side of it. It's constantly perfectly rotating, so we only see one side of the moon. Exactly one side. It's not like we have like a quarter of a degree every 5 years or half a degree here and there. It's always the same side. There are no coincidences when it comes to this system. It was deliberately built, but I think it was deliberately built to be detected. And I think we were naturally supposed to figure this thing out maybe as late as the 1970s, but the government figured it out first, and they have been spending a heck of a lot of money trying to keep it a secret.
When I look at the people who signed the Antarctic Treaty, and all the nations that were down there doing whatever they were doing signed a treaty, and I believe it was 1958 or somewhere thereabouts, saying, nope, nobody can stake a claim to Antarctica, and if you're going to go down there, you can only go down there for scientific reasons under carefully restricted guidance, but it's not a free-for-all. Nobody can just, you know, hey, I'm going to go check out Antarctica and do a high jump of my own. Nope, can't do it.
It's the only treaty that's you know, all these countries have signed and never broken and completely agreed on. It's the only one. You know, what treaty is there that everybody's agreed on? We're being kept away from it for a reason. You know, they have some scientific bases there, and literally it's controlled by the military because they don't want you finding out what's beyond.
During 3 voyages lasting 3 years and 8 days, Captain Cook and crew sailed a total of 60,000 miles along the Antarctic coastline, never once finding an inlet or path through or beyond the massive glacial wall. So the other question is, well, how come ships don't go off the sea if it's flat? How come ships don't fall off the edge? Well, here's why you don't fall off the edge. There's a 200 to 300 foot high wall that is the border that Scripture says is keeping everything in. Nothing's going past that.
Because they don't want you finding out what's beyond.
Personally, I think the unconquered south face is the only one worth scaling. It's a 20,000-foot sheer wall of ice. But that's never stopped me before. Risk? Of course I'm aware of the risks. Thank you for your concern.
Here's the picture of the Earth from space. There it is. Since you were a kid, you've seen this image. But you've never seen it from that point of view. You've never seen that with your eyes from that scale of a model, that point of view, from outside of the planet's surface. Well, here's the first image that sold the whole thing. 1482. This is when they came up with this idea. We are on that thing. It's a ball. Hey, we should go to the North and the South Pole. We didn't do it yet. It's a fucking ball. Hey, nobody's even like jumped up high enough to see if it is a ball. We can't do that. We don't have planes yet. It's a ball. You know what? We adopted this whole model like 400 or 500 years before the airplane. 400 years before the airplane, pretty much. Like beginning in the 1900s. They went to the North Pole in the 1900s. This is 1482. Nobody went to the top of the globe, to the bottom, or flew up or built a skyscraper. It's funny, but we said that this is what we're in right now. This is what we're on before any instrument approved. This is the first time we actually had like an instrument of flight to actually go high enough to actually fucking check out if what we agreed to 500 years ago was real. So if they were wrong after 500 years, the question is, would they tell you? Newtonian physics. Why objects move on a ball spinning 1,000 miles an hour while it's going 26,000 miles around the sun. Basically the model we're accepting right now.
The sailor thinks that he's traveling around the Earth this way, when in effect he's traveling around the Earth this way.
They began flying it around the world, from Abu Dhabi last year, with stops in India and China, then across the vast Pacific.
Does running around your neighborhood prove that the neighborhood is round?
I was an airline pilot for Delta for 26 years. A pilot's primary flight instrument is his artificial horizon, which he has to be maintained level to keep from climbing and descending. From a cockpit, weather permitting, I could see hundreds of miles in all directions, viewing cities connected by roads across the flat plain as far as the eye could see. Nothing ever leaned.
If a pilot is flying around the curve of the Earth, then he should be dipping the nose down every 5 minutes. He should be dipping the nose down to stay around the curve. That's absolute proof that a plane flies over a flat surface rather than a curved one. But I went to the manufacturer of the artificial horizon, and they confirmed to me that it's completely mechanical, nothing electronic in it whatsoever. So it's literally just a gyroscope that can freely move. That right there is proof to me that planes fly over a plane.
Flat Earthers, it's time. We are going to destroy the Globheads' arguments concerning flight routes.
When you go onto the plane tracking software, you'll see hundreds and hundreds of flights over the northern hemisphere, and you can track those flights from beginning to end. When you look at any flight in the southern hemisphere, what you'll find is the flight takes off and disappears off the tracking. And that only leaves why. Why have they done this? What's the point of this grand deception? I think Eric Dubay explains it best.
People are always asking, why do they do this? Other than the obvious profit margin motive, NASA being the biggest black budget black hole in existence, sucking in over $30 billion taxpayer money for the fake moon landings alone. Nowadays, hundreds of billions of dollars, and not just NASA, but RASA and all the other fake space organizations around the world giving CGI images for hundreds of billions of dollars.
You want to put something in context. If you want to do something with $3.5 trillion, you can do whatever you want. Whatever you judge to be important to the profile of the nation that you are trying to build and to sustain.
So by surreptitiously indoctrinating us into their scientific materialist sun worship, not only do we lose faith in anything beyond the material, we gain absolute faith in materiality, superficiality, status, selfishness, hedonism, and consumerism. If there's no God and everyone's just an accident, then all that really matters is me, me, me. So they've turned Madonna, the mother of God, into the material girl living in a material world.
It's all about making us feel nothing, so that we can be used. If everybody realised how special we all are, how unique every single life is, then this whole world would change overnight. We wouldn't allow ourselves to be used by this cabal.
I start from the supposition that the world is topsy-turvy, that things are all wrong, that the wrong people are in jail and the wrong people are out of jail, that the wrong people are in power, that the wealth is distributed in this country and the world in such a way as not simply to require small reform, but to require a drastic reallocation of wealth. All we have to do is think about the state of the world today and realize that things are all upside down. Now, if you don't think, if you just listen to TV and read scholarly things, you actually begin to think that things are not so bad, or that just little things are wrong. But you have to get a little detached and then come back and look at the world, and you are horrified. Now, as soon as you say the topic is civil disobedience, you're saying our problem is civil disobedience. That is not our problem. Our problem is civil obedience.
I think all our society is run by insane people for insane objectives. You know, and I think that's what I sussed when I was 16 and 12 way down the line, but I expressed it differently all through my life. It's the same thing I'm expressing all the time, but now I can put it into that sentence that I think we're being run by maniacs for maniacal ends, you know. If anybody can put on paper what our government and the American government, etc., and the Russian, Chinese, what they are actually trying to do, you know, and what they think they're doing, I'd be very pleased to know what they think they're doing. I think they're all insane, you know, but I'm liable to be put away as insane for expressing that. You know, that's what's insane about it.
And someone else says it's flat. That's worth reporting.
Should we still debate whether the Earth is flat?
Like they used to think the sun went around the Earth. Everybody say that's scientists. Well, he's so smart.
Until other science refuted it.
Right, but back then, like everybody at that time thought that guy was smart. Why at this time do we think that the Earth goes around the sun?
There's an overwhelming science that the Earth was flat, and there was an overwhelming science that
you learn over time.
We were the center of the world.
You're just taking an authority's word for it, and all we're saying is be skeptical. Sure. And while you're being skeptical, there's a bunch of evidence that's totally against the mainstream version. And while you're being skeptical and looking at that evidence, you start compiling more and more of the evidence until you become like me, you know the truth. I don't believe the Earth is flat and motionless. I know it is.
There was a lot of things that I thought I knew, but now suddenly turned out to be completely different. They can't just impose stuff on us. They have to tell us about it and wait for our consent. And silence is considered consent.
If the sun was 93 million miles away, you wouldn't see that. We see in perspective. That is, the horizon is at our eye level. And as things recede from us, they tend to converge to the center of that horizon line, to a place that's known as the vanishing point. The sun rotates around us and only appears to rise and set because of the way our vision works. Try and watch the following video without the preconception that the sun rises and sets, but rather moves further away.
The images of your world with curves or as a ball are CGI. You've seen those images all your life. their paintings, their computer-generated images, or a little of both. Anything with a curve and the Earth is a fake. It's a fraud. You have never, with your naked eyes, ever seen the Earth as a ball from space. You never have. But you just have blind faith that that's what it looks like.
If the Earth were actually a big ball, the horizon should sink as you ascend, not rise to your eye level. And it would dip at each end of your periphery, not remain flat all around, the horizon rising with the camera level and remaining perfectly flat 360 degrees around.
All the ancient cultures from the beginning of time have depicted a flat, kind of enclosed Earth. So we have this flat Earth cosmology all the way up into the 1900s when a big push was made to live on this round spinning ball flying around the sun. They are basically placing us on a speck of dust flying through infinite space where it was made from this accidental Big Bang. And we really don't mean very much, and everything is kind of an accident, and it kind of leads you into this mentality where things are meaningless. It doesn't matter what you do in life, but the more you research, the more you'll find that you can't prove the spinning ball Earth unless you're suffering from cognitive dissonance and you've been programmed your entire life. All scientific experiments show that we're being lied to about what mainstream science is saying about the Earth.
If a pilot is flying around the curve of the Earth, then he should be dipping the nose down every 5 minutes. He should be dipping the nose down to stay around the curve. That's absolute proof that a plane flies over a flat surface rather than a curved one. A lot of people have these laser thermometers. Now, you can actually measure the temperature of the moonlight next to the temperature of the shade of the moonlight, and you'll find the moonlight is colder than the shade opposite from the sun. So the moon's throwing out its own light. The scientific community have not told us this.
Mainstream science says that we can see the curve visible at 35,000 feet, but when we're watching an amateur balloon flight without a fisheye lens or a wide-angle lens on it, there is no curve to be seen. And basically, if we were living on a ball or a sphere of any sort, no matter how high you rise, you would have to look down to see the horizon. Yet when you take these cameras to 100,000 feet, the horizon is still at eye level. That's inconsistent with any kind of spherical shape whatsoever.
The others, they've got smaller gatekeepers for the flat earth that they've brought in to distort the message, and they give fake flat earth arguments hoping that you'll reach them before you reach someone like me, and then you'll hear their stupid arguments saying that gravity's real but the flat earth disk is constantly rising, and that's what causes us to, things to fall. They'll give explanations like this, which to any sound thinking person will totally reject, and then they'll totally reject the entire flat earth model based on these little bits of disinformation that are being given. 200 proofs Earth is not a spinning ball, and that's just 200. I came up with 200 because William Carpenter came up with 100 in the 1800s, and I wanted to double it. I could come up with 400 if you give me enough time and incentive. People are doing it right now.
Scientists vote that the Earth is flat.
Because it's actual, observable, testable, repeatable, natural science that we can do ourselves. The kind of science, in quotes, that you're getting from these figureheads is not observable, testable, repeatable, natural science that you can do yourself. It's stuff that they claim that only they can do with a Hubble telescope. Only we can take images, CGI images of fake planets with our Hubble telescope. You can't. Condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance. And I think that, Einstein was right about that. I don't believe in anything, but I do investigate everything. I don't just take things at face value or take somebody's word for it. I want to know for myself. And if I can't know for myself, then I will happily be in the place of not knowing. They need to have some authority figure telling them answers, and they're going to believe that, and that makes them feel safe. But me, I'm the opposite, where I like to be skeptical, and I think everybody would be better off if they did that instead of just believing some authority figure that tells you you're on a spinning ball that was exploded out of a big bang and you're a monkey man that evolved. You know, it's ridiculous, and it's obvious why they're doing it. They want you to think you're a monkey, a purposeless accident that comes from nothing. while they steal $50 million of your tax money every day. The motive is obvious. CGI images of fake planets with our Hubble telescope, but you can take a regular telescope and you can see that the images they give you are complete nonsense cartoons, and what it actually looks like is pulsating lights in the sky.
Okay, oh, that star is 700,000 light years away from that constellation. I was all into that. I was totally into it. I was super into anything space. Are you kidding? The Science Channel?
Oh my God, you had me. You had me so good.
With the CGI, with all those CGI DVDs. All those DVDs, BBC, Nova, were floating in space, spinning around the sun, and the sun has got some gravitational pull on us, and we got the gravitational pull on the moon. That doesn't make sense. That's not science to me. When people talk about science this, science that, I go, explain to me how that is science. There's a force that's holding oceans, keeping it from spinning and flying off because it's spinning 1,000 miles an hour. But as soon as we get to a certain altitude, it's all magic. It's not science. All that's magic. Us floating in space, and we're being connected to the sun. It has this force that's connected. That seems crazy. And we're flying through the universe, and the universe is endless. Like people say, well, if the Earth is flat, where's the edge? Like, where's the edge of this motherfucking universe?
We're the center of the world.
Understanding what reality is very, very important to me. I think it should be important to everybody. And I think the more that people become perhaps what they call spiritually aware or awake, they're starting to see through things, how things have been manipulated and reality's been created for them.
If God forbid everybody came and started demanding answers, and once they can't provide those answers, people realize they are busted. It can't be a mistake. It can't be anything but the deception and control mechanism it is. Because people are waking up. And no matter how much they try to suppress this flat earth movement, oh, it's gonna keep moving one way or another. You can see it. People are waking up. So now, louder than ever, I can hear that clock. Tick-tock, 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 tick-tock.
In other breaking news, the world is round, not flat.
A strange message on Mount Rubidoux. The words Google Flat Earth were found carved into the riverside hill in letters that were 10 feet long. Police talked to the person who did it. He's not facing charges yet. One possible explanation of the message: some still believe the world is flat, not round, and post about it online.
So you can check with theodolites and telescopes and different methods, lasers, to see if the Earth actually does have that curvature. And it's been tested over and over again and found to have no curvature whatsoever. So I mean, even if they had the number wrong and it was 100,000 miles in circumference, there would still be calculable, measurable curvature that just isn't there. The only place curvature exists is in NASA photos and videos, and those can be proven to be CGI fakes. And the early ones were literally taken through a round window to make the Earth appear round. literally taken through a round window to make the Earth appear round.
Oh, this is a shot from 130,000 miles out. I guess it's from approaching. It's from approaching the moon, looking back at the Earth. If that's the Earth, is that like another spacecraft?
No. That I have no idea what that is. It's some aberration on the film of some sort. Oh, those are shadows, I think. Or reflections, probably reflections that are just reflecting.
Run that back again so we get another shot of it.
Okay, turn off the camera. Your interview is done. I've given you all the time I'm going to give you.
Okie dokie. Good to meet you.
I don't say it's a pleasure.
Understand.
Please get your ass out of my house.
Okay.
And you came here under false pretenses, and I think you're an asshole.
Lying about going to the moon is a satanic lie of gigantic proportions.
I don't hit people, but you're going to be on the deck unless you get...
I'm heading out. I appreciate it.
And get the hell out of my house. You'll get a gun and shoot them at them before they get out of the office?
We have a video camera running if you want to do it.
Right.
That would be great footage for us. See you later. In court, I hope. Want to call the CIA? Have them whacked? Where you put a transparency over the window and move the camera of the Earth and move the camera back away from the window. Turn off the lights in the spacecraft and appeared to be halfway to the moon when in fact they were in Earth orbit.
Huh, really?
Yeah, and they said it was the same way that you did it on Apollo 10. So we wanted to give you the opportunity to put your left hand on the Bible, to raise your right hand, to swear to God.
Stick it in your ear.
If you walked on the moon, we're giving the opportunity to swear to God that you walked on the moon.
I'm going to give you the opportunity to get the hell knocked out of you if you don't leave me alone.
We found a very unique reel of footage that we have queued up to show you.
Yeah.
And it's from the mission. And to our knowledge, no one has ever seen it before. And it's 30 years old.
And you want me to see this while you have me on camera?
Well, and to tell us what it is. That's correct. As you'll see, this tape proves that.
Okay, well, I'm not interested in satisfying your suppositions when there's all this evidence that we did.
This proves, as you see, that you were using the window to demonstrate that you were halfway to the moon when you were
Turn the camera off, please. Turn the camera off. Well, you're talking to the wrong guy. Why don't you talk to the administrator at NASA? We're passengers. We're guys going on a flight.
You're a coward and a liar and a thief. Did you see shooting stars?
Did
you see the shooting stars?
Yeah, I'm getting to that.
Oh, okay.
But there's a lot of noise going on. So I don't know the results of some of the experiments they've conducted. The point is they can't get that far from here, and they're really in the protective confines of the Earth. They're really in the protective confines of the Earth. They're really in the protective
International Space Crew attempted a spacewalk outside the station. Here's a live look at the astronauts. Well, I don't believe. I don't think that's. Yeah, where's their space?
So this is photo trickery and brainwashing that's got the world thinking that we're on a ball spinning around the sun with a magical force called gravity holding us on the underside of this spinning ball. It's all just brainwashing that we've received. It's pseudoscience accepted as legit science. But real science has confirmed geocentricity in the flat Earth. Flat Earth. Flat Earth. The best way to brainwash the whole world, to lie to the whole world about what the world is. In reality, we're not a cosmic accidental sneeze, nothingness turned everything. This is quite obviously intelligently designed, this thing we're experiencing here, this life, this universe. I can't believe anyone in their right mind can look me in the eyes with a straight face and say, no man, it's all random.
Be open-minded about this. This is very, very controversial and difficult to get your head round. The first of which is the scientific method, something that the scientific community doesn't seem to use these days. But the scientific method is where a theory or opinion is put forward that matches what we observe. The other thing we have to accept is how easily our minds, once they've been programmed or given a world view, how easily those minds can be fooled.
I used to dream, I used to glance beyond the stars. Now I don't know where we are, although I know we're drifting by.
The Earth isn't spinning or orbiting or being dragged. The Earth is fixed, and it's the stars that are moving.
People can't stand change. They don't like what they don't understand. We all have our own pursuit of happiness. Don't listen to someone's story, then say, and what? You need more? Is their happiness not good enough for you? So you judge them like you know. True happiness brings happiness to others. We are all a family, separate family trees connected at the roots. We are intelligent beings with the mind, body, and soul who truly want world peace. At least that's my goal. What happened to love? All I see is hate. The way we treat others on earth, death and chaos is our only fate. Every living thing has value and should be treated as such. We only have one earth, but act like we have so much. Do you not realize we are in control, not the 2%, who so-called own the world because it was money well spent? When there is no food, will you eat the money? When there is nothing left, will you still think this is funny? Remember, I warned you. I hope I opened your eyes so the world really gets better before it's too late to realize. Please spread the word. Please spread the word. Please spread the word. Please spread the word.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work. When you go to church. When you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
One thing they fear is 300 million people coming together on one topic and saying, this makes no sense. We need answers. Why is the flat earth so important? Because it shows the deception. There are enough reasonable questions to create reasonable suspicion that we've been lied to. They can't afford to keep being asked. If God forbid everybody came and started demanding answers, and once they can't provide those answers, people realize they are busted. It can't be a mistake. It can't be anything but the deception and control mechanism it is. That is why they fear the flat earth. Flat earth is not a psyop. Flat earth destroys the psyop. Every psyop that's been used to control us. For as long as they've known about it. So this system has been in power and control for hundreds of years, ever since they convinced the rest of the world that they didn't know where they lived. They created this fantastical scenario to make people feel insignificant and to follow those that appear to know better. They're just better liars, deceivers, that have no conscience, and will do everything and anything to everybody and anybody they can to keep that power. Because people are waking up. And no matter how much they try to suppress this flat earth movement, oh, it's gonna keep moving one way or another. You can see it. People are waking up.
Their earth is indisputably not round.
Is it possible that these guys are using stage magic, tricks? Look over here, look over here. And is it possible that the world that we're living in has been misdescribed? I definitely know that the world that we're living in has been misdescribed to us and oversimplified, including the solar system model. It's been vastly oversimplified. It doesn't actually accord itself to the very accurate readings we can get today with our technology, right? Like they never predicted that it was going to come to this.
If you can't figure out what difference it makes that the people running your world have fucking lied to you over and over your whole life, if you can't figure out what difference that makes, you're a fucking idiot. And if everybody would just come together and demand answers, they would not know what the fuck to do.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened. And if it didn't happen, it's nice to know why it didn't happen, so in the future, if we want to keep doing something, we need to know why something stopped in the past that we wanted to keep it going.
And you can see the real location of the camera and the very bright and near Earth out the window.
10 or 11 years ago, I stated to various scientists that the moon is not a piece of rock, but it is plasma.
The Americans and Russians are thinking of landing men on it.
Oh, well, that will never happen, never happen, never happen.
Sometimes it's got something called a lunar wave. There are many videos showing the moon with a lunar wave. We don't know what that is. It's all a mystery. Do you believe it could possibly land on it? Absolutely not. You know, you've got a P900 camera now you can buy, and you can zoom in to the moon. It's supposed to be, by the way, 238,000 miles away in deep dark space. It's sometimes translucent. You can see through it.
Whether you believe we went to the moon or not, everybody believes that there's a debate about it, right? Now, if you really have an open mind and you want to get to the bottom of it, let's have an open mind. Let's get to the bottom of it, and let's take it to trial. First thing we got to do is examine the evidence. And the defendant, the government, says we destroyed all the evidence.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
You destroyed the evidence? Why would you destroy all that precious evidence of the greatest achievement of mankind? These guys are fucked. They destroyed the evidence? Okay, it's on now. It would be an open and shut case.
It's a painful process to build it back again.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
When you look up at the sun and moon, you see two equally sized, equidistant circles tracing similar paths at similar speeds around a flat, stationary Earth.
Rise up, look at that great cosmic light and think about it. That gets up in the eastern horizon every morning and moves across the sky with a kind of symphony of motion and paints its technicolor across the blue, a light that man could never make. They become so involved in thinking about man's progress, they forget to think about the need for God's power.
The experts at NASA, however, claim your common sense, everyday experience is false on all counts. To begin with, they say the Earth is not flat, but a big ball. Not stationary, but spinning around 19 miles per second. They say the sun does not revolve around the Earth as it appears, but Earth revolves around the sun. And the sun is actually 400 times larger than the moon and 400 times farther away. That's right, you can clearly see they're the same size and distance. You can see the Earth is flat. You can feel the Earth is stationary. But according to the gospel of modern astronomy, the Earth spins 1,038 miles per hour under your feet and revolves 67,108 miles per hour around the sun. Copernicus calculated the sun's distance from Earth to be 3,391,200 miles. The next century, Johannes Kepler decided it was actually 12,376,800 miles away. Isaac Newton once said, "It matters not whether we reckon it 28 or 54 million miles distant, for either would do just as well." How scientific.
Science!
Benjamin Martin calculated between 81 and 82 million miles. The moon is actually a semi-transparent luminary and not the solid spherical desert planet that NASA would have us believe. In fact, it is likely that both the sun and moon are not densely physical at all, and are simply luminous flat disks able to pass by or through one another during eclipses. The sun and moon luminaries revolve around the Earth once every 24 hours for the sun and approximately 25 hours for the moon, illuminating like spotlights the areas over which they pass. The sun's annual journey from tropic to tropic, solstice to solstice, is what determines the length and character of days, nights, and seasons. What can be more common than the observation that, standing at one end of a long row of lampposts, those nearest to us seem to be the highest, and those farthest away the lowest. As we move along towards the opposite end of the series, those which we approach seem to get higher, and those we are leaving behind appear to gradually become lower. It is an ordinary effect of perspective for an object to appear lower and lower as the observer goes farther and farther away from it. Let anyone try the experiment. The apparently uprising surface of the Earth upon or over which it stands will converge to the angle which constitutes the vanishing point or the horizon, beyond which it will be invisible. Heliocentrists would have you believe the very opposite of what every human who has ever walked the Earth has seen with their own eyes. It is obvious to any child and sovereign-minded adult that the sun, moon, stars, and planets, every light in the sky above, revolves around the motionless Earth beneath our feet. It is also plain to see that the sun and moon are both approximately the same size and situated relatively close to Earth, not 400 times divergent and millions upon millions of miles away. To abandon your senses and everyday experience in favor of such unfounded science fiction fantasies is a fallacy of appeal to authority so extreme that it leaves the brainwashed believer impotent to trust his own natural instincts and forever thereafter chained to the fantastical explanations of astronomical charlatans.
Timon! Yeah? Ever wonder what those sparkly dots are up there?
Pumbaa. I don't wonder. I know.
Oh? What are they?
They're fireflies. Fireflies that got stuck up in that big bluish black thing.
Oh, gee. I always thought they were balls of gas burning billions of miles away.
Who told you something like that? What mook made that up?
Yeah, pretty dumb, huh?
Oh, you're killing me, son.
It's maybe the night that my dreams might let me know all the stars are closer, all the stars are closer, all the stars are closer. It's maybe the night that my dreams might let me know all the stars are closer, all the stars are closer, all the stars are closer.
To stay fixed in their constellation patterns, night after night, year after year, century after century, never changing their relative positions. If Earth was truly a tilting, wobbling, spinning space ball, as NASA and modern astronomy proclaim, the star patterns would never look the same 2 nights in a row, let alone be fixed in exactly the same constellations for thousands upon thousands of years.
Maybe the night that my dreams might let me know all the stars are closer, all the stars are closer, all the stars are closer. Maybe the night that my dreams might let me know all the stars are closer, all the stars are closer, all the stars are closer.
I want to talk about flat Earth. And I notice things like when you search it in a search engine, all you get is misinformation. You don't even get real critical thought on it. I saw the blanket censorship, which tells me there's truth to it. Tells me that they're panicking. They're in panic mode, and they don't want us to have real tangible information. More importantly, they don't want you to think critically about it. See, we're in the information age, and this is what the tactic is. This is why Logan Paul just did a video on flat Earth. It's why Shane Dawson just did a series of videos. It's to discredit the real truth. It tells me that there's something here that they don't want you to know. It tells me that mainstream science, NASA, and more importantly, our government powers are panicking. So they're hiring through the same companies that they own, because there's only 6 companies, by the way. If it's a wild conspiracy theory, why do they need to discredit it? If it's a wild conspiracy theory and it isn't the truth, and no one's going to believe it because they're smart enough to think on their own, why do they need to discredit it? Why do they need, and these same people, keep in mind, Logan Paul, Disney is the parent company. I'm pretty sure he gets a check from Walt Disney. Why would they then put out these misinformation campaigns? I mean, ask yourself these logical questions. I think we know the answer, and I think we know the reason. Is it possible that we're living in that Truman Show today? We're living on the flat Earth with the dome, the firmament. As we start to look around us, we start to wake up, our eyes open, maybe that third eye opens, we start to understand, wow, this isn't what I thought it was. Maybe instead of being a worthless blob of goo that came from nothing and then developing into apes that were oohing and ahhing and then eating bananas like a bunch of idiots, maybe instead of that, we actually are the center of the universe. Maybe we are special. In fact, maybe there is unbelievable evidence of creation, but the government has decided to hide that from you. Why? Why is there so much misinformation? Why is there a giant disinformation campaign going on right now when it comes to things like flat Earth? Are my eyes lying to me? Or can I trust what I'm actually seeing? But Christopher, the Earth is a globe. I was told that when I was 1 year old. They said, look, this is a globe. Isn't it interesting? It's one of the first things that you're actually taught. The Earth isn't flat, it's a globe. Even though for hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of years, they thought that the Earth was flat. Oh, but Christopher, we have all these images of outer space that show that the Earth is a sphere. Really? Where do the images come from? NASA. Oh, you mean the same NASA that is our government, our secretive breakaway government that hasn't been back to the moon since the 1960s. That NASA? Have you ever seen it with your own eyes? How come none of the electronics account for curvature of the Earth when you're flying a plane? None of the engineering of bridges and train tracks, buildings, all kinds of infrastructure that goes for miles and hundreds and maybe thousands of miles, none of it accounts for, in its actual engineering blueprints, for the curvature of the Earth. I mean, if I was building a giant bridge with hundreds of miles, wouldn't I have to account for the curve? Or is it possible there's not a curve and that we've been lied to for a reason?
Everybody in this room was taught the story of how Columbus went before Queen Isabella of Spain and he was going to prove to her that the world was the globe. So this world is round story is 100% bullshit. It's total fiction. Yet how did our grandparents learn this? We learned this. Our grandchildren are probably going to learn this. How come? Because history is pop culture.
And that dude who jumped out of a perfectly good balloon, what's his name? Felix Baumgartner, edge of space jump. But the honesty of it would greatly diminish what I think people thought he was actually doing. And not only that, they made sure to photograph him standing there with a really wide-angle lens, which curves horizontal lines. You see this curvature of Earth's surface, and he said, wow, he's in space, look at that. No, he's not.
It's almost overwhelming. When you're standing there in a pressure suit, the only thing that you hear is yourself breathing. You can see the curvature of the Earth. You can see the sky is totally black.
At that height, you don't see the curvature of the Earth. You just don't. That stuff is flat.
You can see the curvature of the Earth.
You don't see the curvature of the Earth.
You can see the curvature of the Earth.
You just don't. That stuff is flat.
With a really wide-angle lens, which curves horizontal lines. With a really wide-angle lens, which curves horizontal lines. Wide-angle lens, which curves horizontal lines.
scientists vote that the Earth is flat.
So trust your eyes and trust your experience. Trust your feeling, trust your intuition. Look out, see the horizon flat. Feel for yourself. You're not moving. Just sit still. Just sit still for a second. You're not moving. You're not spinning around an axis at 1,000 miles per hour, rotating around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour, spiraling around the galaxy at 500,000 miles per hour, and shooting off from a Big Bang at 67 million miles per hour. You're not. You're motionless. You're just sitting there. Just sit still. What does that even mean, sit still? You think you could sit still with all those motions? Does it feel like you're moving? Feel that? Same thing you've always felt? Nothing? Ever? Nobody's ever felt movement. Nobody's ever seen the earth move. Nobody's ever seen the earth curve. Maybe you just got fooled by some Masons. Mark Twain said, "It's easier to fool people than to convince them they've been fooled."
The directive I'm signing today will refocus America's space program on human exploration and discovery. It marks an important step in returning American astronauts to the moon for the first time since 1972 for long-term exploration and use. This time, we will not only plant our flag and leave our footprint, we will establish a foundation for an eventual mission to Mars and perhaps someday to many worlds beyond.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again. It's a painful process to build it back again.
Many of us and many other people in many places have speculated on the meaning of this first landing on another body in space. Would each of you give us your estimate of what is the meaning of this to all of us?
You want to try that? Can't forget.
That's how fake what they're showing us is. That it is fake because it's fake. And they're going to continue to fake it until they're gone. They must only exist to perpetrate the fraud. That's their entire goal.
We've been lied to. I will not be fooled by aliens coming because there are no aliens. There's no space.
It's bottom of the barrel garbage. I don't see anything that tells me that we've been outside of low Earth orbit. So if that's the case, then that means that they can only get so high and they might be able to fly around at that height, but after that, everything from that point, and if you want to know that point, watch any space launch video. It's the point where the camera switches. Simple. So many people believe things that they've never done research on because it seems to be matter of fact.
You have to use your own imagination as to what the world might be because we were lied to about what it is. My imagination isn't trying to deceive me.
This world is very different from what most people think it is.
Rise up, look at that great cosmic light and think about it. That gets up in the eastern horizon every morning and moves across the sky with a kind of symphony of motion and paints its technicolor across the blue, a light that man can never make.
Very simple indeed to just silence everybody, put an end to this topic once and for all, turn the Hubble round and show us Earth in real time, zooming in onto a place so that we can see what's happening at that place, and we know that there is something up there looking down on us from space. But they will not do it. They can't do it. It doesn't exist. It literally doesn't exist.
The same guys that fake 6 moon missions, the greatest human achievement of all mankind, they fake 6 of them, and this is where I thought we read like scientists just fucking, oh, there's all these scientists with their telescopes and they're looking, and that's what I thought. I go, what about all the scientists? Yeah, all these scientists, they're looking at telescopes. That's what I thought. But they're all looking at telescopes, all these scientists. They're looking at telescopes. And then you find out they're not fucking looking at it. The same motherfuckers who fake 6 moon missions, these are the same guys that are giving us all our information on space. Right there, I'm like, oh, they're lying to us. Everything they're saying to us, they're lying to us. Everything is a lie. They're all saying, but the information about space, no, that's true. I get that. That's true. No, it's fucking all bullshit. Hold on. All you got to do is look into it, and you're going to realize that it's all bullshit. All bullshit. All the information on space, bullshit. Can you name 5 scientists that are alive? Name 5 scientists that are alive. I'm waiting.
This next question comes from Twitter user Aku, who asks, any estimations on how old these discovered exoplanets are?
Yeah, the age of the star and the system itself is poorly constrained. We know it's not very young. It doesn't show signs of youngness, so it's at least 500 million years old. But we can't say more because these ultra-cool dwarf stars, they evolve super slowly. Their lifetime is 1,000 times larger than for a sun-like stars. So we don't see them evolving, so we can't constrain their ages.
All right, this next question comes from Facebook Live here. What is the distance between these 3 planets? Is it something like 500,000 kilometers? And what is the distance between E and the star?
Oh, the distance between the planets are a few times the distance between the Earth and the Moon. So we're talking about something like millions of kilometers and not hundreds of millions of kilometers for an Earth around a sun-like star. And for the planet F, or E, the distance is something like 5% the distance between the Earth and the Sun. So it's much, much closer to its star.
I think it's important that everybody does their own research, and I try to point that out as often as possible, and I try to say it as often as I can, because if you ever are listening to what someone's telling you, or you're watching me point out space fakery or what I think is a hoax, I'm doing that to kind of get you on your way. But all of space travel is fake, is fake, is fake. all of outer space and the way that we've been taught it, planets and nebulas, is completely different than we've been taught. And that realization ultimately comes with looking into this stuff yourself. People think space is what they've been told because they've been told. And that goes for scientists, that goes for professors, to look into the things that they're teaching. To tell children that they're spinning on a ball is an extraordinary claim. And to say that we're flying through space and that the atmosphere sticks with Earth sounds like extraordinary claims. Sounds like it's just ad hoc explanations for things that we would see on a spinning ball that we don't see because it's not spinning and it's not a ball. If they found out that what they're teaching is a lie, they would all stop tomorrow. And so I think that the main point of what I'm trying to say is going to be the importance behind actually doing your own research and showing NASA to be the fraud that they are. Because of the education that we were given and because of the indoctrination and because of every TV show and video and commercial and logo, if you're about the truth, if you care about actually talking about what things are true and you actually respect people who are willing to speak out about that, then you will come to the realization eventually that we've been lied to, on the largest possible scale. But I also know 100% one thing, and that's that they're hiding God. Without a doubt, in my mind, that is the reason for this all. And like you said, people are getting paid to do it.
Students' claim is reigniting the debate about prayer in schools. The high schooler says an administrator kept her from praying before she ate her lunch.
Senior running back Pedro Banda scored the touchdown that would send his team to the playoffs for the first time. But what Pedro did next got him kicked out of the game and put his football future in jeopardy. He pointed his hand to the sky and thanked God.
When we say public schools, what we really mean is government schools. We have given to the government the role of educating our children. I think that's a bad idea. Very bad idea. Very bad idea.
Students all across America, thousands and thousands of students who are learning. They're learning about space flight.
Wouldn't that be nice? Can you believe that space is going to do that?
NASA does what they can to teach you about something you'll never experience. And they force it down your throat as if it is part of your experience. And people have adopted it as if space travel is part of their experience, as if orbits are part of your experience, as if satellites are part of your experience. Because of the research I've done, that clearly shows me that these things are not legit. And I think people need to really take the time to look into satellites, for instance, just as an example. That, yeah, we're told satellites exist. We're told what they do. And if I say they don't exist and somebody makes a video and says, well, right here, you can go to this website and it says right here the satellites exist and what they do. If it's a deception, well then, no shit, Sherlock. If you go check out a web page that's about satellites, then you're not going to find the deception there. It's something that people just don't do. They don't demand proof of things that we're told. That's the problem. It is absolutely a joke to be shown CGI images, to be shown black and white images of Saturn's rings. It's a joke. It is absolutely the worst thing I've ever seen because of what it does to the minds of people. And science should always be about moving towards the truth. And science should never be settled. It should never be settled science. And it should always be open for question. It should always be open for new evidence to come along. And that's not the science we're given today. We live in the world we see with our eyes every day. You can recognize what's real, what's real, what's real. And what's not, and what's not, and what's not, and what's not. I'm not going to adopt something as my belief until I've done the research behind it, and you understand that, and you recognize the power behind research and investigation.
must unlearn what you have learned. No.
And I want y'all to be honest as possible. Do y'all think the earth is flat?
No.
No? Why not?
It's Earth.
Who told you that?
History fourth grade. Yeah, science teachers.
You don't think so? You don't think it's flat?
There's possibilities.
Possibilities?
Just because maybe. We've been raised.
Y'all think we moving? You think we spinning?
Probably.
I mean, that's what the science books say.
Gravity.
Do you feel it? So what is gravity?
Oh, I don't know the true definition.
You think it's a ball?
I think so.
And what's your best proof that it's a ball and that it's not flat?
Because of the satellite, they show the luminous, that's the way.
The satellite? The pictures that you see? But you yourself, can you feel the Earth spinning right now? No? Okay. Have you ever seen the Earth curving? No. Me neither. You know why? It's because the Earth is flat and it doesn't spin. Look into it.
You prove to me that the Earth is round.
I mean, obviously I can't.
You can't. Because all you can go by is what? What you read and what you were told, right?
Exactly.
But what you see, the people that told you that the Earth is round also say that we're spinning on an axis going around the sun.
Yeah.
Do you feel it?
No.
Have you ever seen the curve?
What do you mean? Have you ever
no,
seen
the Earth curve. Have you ever seen it?
No, of course you can't.
You can't see it.
No.
Exactly. So how? How is it right? It can't be. It can't be.
Okay.
It can't just be. It just is.
Can you?
So many times during spacewalks outside the International Space Station, we can see air bubbles rising up. Can you touch on how there are air bubbles in space?
Can you be more specific? Air bubbles?
So yeah, like a lot of times during the footage, the NASA footage, you can see bubbles coming up out of the helmets or kind of from underneath you.
Often on the outside of the space station, you'll liberate little pieces of, it's a really harsh environment out there, and the outside of the space station gets beat up pretty good. And sometimes, you'll see just little flecks of paint or something that you might have disrupted floating away from the suit. And, that's generally what that is. I've never seen any kind of air bubble anywhere.
Yeah. Could it be that you're filming in an underwater pool and you're not really out there? I encourage everyone to look up bubbles in space, hashtag bubbles in space. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I beg you to do the research that I've done, which is just simply go and look at this stuff. Really question everything, because if they faked it once, what's to stop them from faking it twice? And what's to stop them from faking it all?
Everything about this world is fake. Fake food, fake political systems, fake religious system, fake medical system, fake skies. It's unreal.
The American government has created weather tampering techniques so that the New World Order will be able to starve millions of Americans and to control the rest.
There is weather control techniques. We have a complete package on that, which I did not bring, but I certainly will see to it that it is brought in for the record. Number one, the entire patents on the equipment. Number two, Senator Claiborne Pell's complete statement and story of his own that not only does it exist, but that we even utilized it as far back as the Vietnam War. You might want to touch base with Senator Pell.
I just want to repeat before I turn it.
So yes, but we do have all that information.
You're saying the government in New World Order will be able to starve millions of Americans
worldwide,
millions of Americans, and to control the rest.
Yes, sir. And if somebody had told me that that equipment even existed 10 years ago, I would have thought they were nuts, sir. And at this point in time, we have all the documents to prove it. And if you think that 85 tornadoes takes place in the middle of our growing area by simultaneous accident, I'm sorry. With the equipment that's already set up internationally, and as bizarre as that is, it is proven and documented. We will supply you with those documents, that they are the greatest weapon ever created in the world.
Chemtrails. You know, when I was a kid, I used to see these trails in the sky all the time, and so that's cool. A jet just went over. And then you started to see a whole bunch of them. And next thing you know, everybody in your neighborhood was fighting and arguing, and you didn't know why. Okay, and you really didn't know why. I mean, everybody was fighting.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
Like you don't know what it is. You don't know what that is.
I have no idea.
You don't know.
You don't know.
All the comics and show business don't know what this is. Come on, Jimmy. Seriously, the time is up. People are hip to this kind of stuff. I'm here tonight to blow the lid off it, to be the whistleblower. I'm sick and tired of the secrets and the lies. For years now, talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to distract you, to make you laugh and stuff like that, make you happy and docile so you don't know what's really going on.
A new world order. A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order.
A new world order where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind.
A new world order can emerge.
There is the very real prospect of a new world order.
You cannot prove a lie.
Well, you say, for example, that there were no planes that hit the World Trade Center. Is that your contention? Well, did you see the videotape that the rest of us saw?
What you will see is a fake, a cartoon display.
You're suggesting that there's some kind of cartoon animation there. You're suggesting that the news media was a part of this.
Yes,
those pictures came from the news
No
media.
second plane. It was a bomb. Bombed another building, not second plane. That was a bomb. Who said the second plane?
That's what we're told. The second plane. We saw it on television. We saw it on television. We saw it on television.
I didn't see a plane go in. That just exploded.
I didn't see any airplane.
Did you see it? Yes, I saw it. It just blew up. A big explosion.
Everything I saw told me it was bombed. And then the South Tower just exploded.
The second building went off.
It just blew up. I was underneath it. I was looking at the tower.
I had my camera in my hand. I heard the noise. I never saw the airplane. I never saw the airplane.
That's what we're told. The second plane, we saw it on television.
I never saw the airplane.
I didn't see any airplane. It blew up. Oh, I didn't even know that was a plane. I learned that from the news media.
And we saw it on television. And we saw it on television. And we saw it on television.
Charles Jaco, CNN, reporting live from Saudi Arabia. Oh, I love this country so much.
You guys just don't have a clue.
Now, when you detect this, you can tell it's been launched. Thank you. Boy, did I almost look stupid.
If you are able to take a question, did you think that the possible threat would be over because it is now morning there? It's what, just after 6 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, the whole thing is everyone assumed that the threat would be over because it was early morning, but the thing about Saddam Hussein is that he has never done the expected, and right now we have... All right, we are now led to understand that there are also firings in another city in Saudi Arabia. CNN's Carl Rochelle is here with me, just came up. Carl, I know we can't be very specific given these restrictions, but within those parameters, what did you see?
Well, what I saw, I didn't see anything hit. I looked almost straight above us. There's a vapor trail coming from my right to my left, and there's a cloud of something. It looks like it might have been an explosion, a cloud. The white side. He's putting on the gas mask. There hasn't been any gas dropped here that we can tell. You may smell some of the fumes from a missile exhaust going off. Missiles use a rocket and cordite.
We're just brainstorming here. We're trying to figure out how to make the news less boring.
The news is supposed to be boring, Ron. Serious stuff.
I just don't know why we have to tell the people what they need to hear. Why can't we just tell them what they want to hear?
Wait. Say that again?
I said, why do we have to tell the people what they need to hear? Why can't we just tell them what they want to hear?
And what do they want to hear?
Good evening, and we come on the air at this hour because we are following developments out of Manchester, England. Reports of an explosion at an Ariana Grande concert, urging people to stay away from the area. They have confirmed multiple fatalities.
And what do they want to hear?
To reports of a shooting, we're told, at Newton Elementary School. This morning, it's in the southwestern part of Connecticut. That's according to a police spokesman, Lieutenant Paul Vance.
And what do they want to hear?
Police have now confirmed at least 4 attacks in the city of Paris. The AP reporting there were suicide bombers outside the stadium. You could hear it right there as the game was going on.
That's the fucking problem. The people that are gullible and they just buy all this shit. That's the problem. It means everything we see on TV is all programmed. Not like just some of it. I trust them here and I trust them. These are straight
That's the Truman Show.
Corruption, straight brainwash, mind control.
So we'll see if Robbie Parker, I assume he's going to come out to the microphones now and make a statement. Looks like the family is there and they're getting ready to come to the microphone. So we'll listen to it.
Okay.
So my name's Robbie Parker. My family is one of the families that lost a child yesterday in the Sandy Hook Elementary School shootings here in Connecticut. I've been contacted by so many people and agencies wanting to know how we're doing, and I just thought that this might be the best way to share those feelings with everybody. I'm not mad, because I have my agency to make sure that I use this event to do what I can.
Crisis cast, in a crisis revert to training, selling the service of crisis actors. Let's go through this website a little bit and take a look. Crisis cast, award-winning role play actors and filmmakers specially trained in disaster and crisis management. So this is very real. We dramatize events for emerging security needs in the UK, Middle East, and worldwide. Our specialist role-play actors, many with security clearance, are trained by behavioral psychologists and rigorously rehearse in criminal and victim behavior to help police, the Army, and the emergency services, hospitals, schools, local authorities, government, private security firms, shopping centers, airports, big business, criminal justice departments, media, and the military.
Country Western concert, and you were right near the front. Corinne, what just started happening?
They started shooting, and everyone stayed down. And as soon as everyone started to get up to run, they just kept shooting, and it's like literally like 5 minutes of just shooting, and people just kept dropping. And it's definitely someone on the ground. Definitely, most definitely. The way they heard it, the crowd and all of us, and then they kept coming. They even came into the back staff parking lot and shot people out there too. So they just kept coming, and I hope they get them.
On the next Dr. Phil, do you know a narcissist?
My world revolves around me completely. That whole thing was a mischaracterization. It made me look horrible.
Is this a mischaracterization of her?
No.
Eyewitness now, Louis Bourbano, is also with us right now. Louis, you were inside the club as well?
Yes, George. I was inside one of the main bars in the front when you turn in at first.
Where was the shooting coming from?
The entrance was to my right. I was at the far end to the left of the bar. There's a mini hallway that enters to my bar, where the bar was in. I don't even remember breathing. I
have a certain amount of trepidation. The year anniversary, we talk about it with our friends in this group of families, the people that we resonate with, and we don't know what we're going to do. We don't know what to do. We haven't figured it out yet.
Pull the trigger! Wait, take me with you. But I don't even know where I'm going. I won't go to a heaven you've abandoned. Just pull the trigger! Okay.
Was bloody. This is the shirt you actually.
I got sprayed with some bullets right there.
And how is your arm now? Obviously, it's in
like still got the 2 holes right there where they enter, and they thought it might have.
Bullet entered.
Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't enter anywhere else because it would have done some damage. And then the shrapnel is still like on my shoulder right in here.
So the shrapnel's still inside your shoulder.
Sir.
Are they going to take that out, or?
They said they're going to wait because it's a complicated surgery because of the muscles, so it may not.
Don't just have a great night, have an American night.
And with a straight face, you're going to tell students that America is so star-spangled awesome that we're the only ones in the world who have freedom? Canada has freedom. Japan has freedom. The UK, France, Italy, Germany, Spain, Australia, Belgium has freedom. So 207 sovereign states in the world, like 180 of them have freedom. All right. And yeah, you, sorority girl, just in case you accidentally wander into a voting booth one day, there's some things you should know. And one of them is, there is absolutely no evidence to support the statement that we're the greatest country in the world. So when you ask what makes us the greatest country in the world, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. First step in solving any problem is recognizing there is one. America is not the greatest country in the world anymore.
Racism, but most of all, we at war with ourselves.
Enough? Enough?
Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world. Millions of despairing men, women, and little children. Victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people.
If you want to go fight, go to Iraq and Afghanistan. Stop hurting these people, man. Why y'all do this to our people? I've been to Iraq 14 months for my people. It doesn't make any sense. Why do you sleep at night? There is no honor in this. You're here to protect us. Protect us. Why are you hurting U.S. citizens?
Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason. A world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness.
lies, it's a deception. Everything that you've been fed was a lie. Be careful with the medicine that you have just been prescribed. It's the devil and he wants you if you're dead or alive. Look, suggestive thinking's got you a victim of this suicide, and you've been blinded by the invisible prison that you have been doing time in. You're entitled to the truth you think that you've acquired, and the conditioning's what makes you violent with the refusal bias. In zombie land, where we poison our water, we feed you lies about the wars and then reward you for slaughter. And boy, it gets darker, the FDA just pulls you in farther with poisoning toxins in food and even more from the doctors. You could either wake up and just think for yourself, beginning by questioning everything education and media tells you, or you can stay asleep, remain in critical health, and fend for yourself in the prison of the material realm. Let's get it, bro.
This is the land of the greedy and the home of the slaves.
That was awesome.